in one gun and fired around. The mannequin's arm shattered as it let out a scream.
Stop, please! Don't shoot!
Chen lowered his weapon. It wasn't a mannequin at all. It was made out of porcelain, and it was alive.
Welcome back. Today I bring you SCP-706, Perfect Porcelain Doll. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Come join my Discord too.
She had been living on the streets since a young child. Her perfect porcelain skin, concealed with clothing and makeup. To those not so observant, she had a doll-like appearance that could have been passed off as convincing cosplay. They had received reports from clothing stores about items going missing. What was curious is that all of the items stolen, a mannequin, was always missing as well.
Has she spoken to anyone yet?
Nope, she hasn't said a word so far. Just sits there, all day long, doing her makeup, adjusting her face, and eating porcelain. Doesn't seem to care much about anything, besides her appearance.
We need to find out what her backstory is.
Pythia?
Pythia.
Oh, Professor. Stop it.
Ah, Klaus. Chen.
Are we interrupting?
Not at all. I was just on my way out. Another time, Pythia. Another time.
Such a tease. So, boys, how can I help you?
Klaus brought forth the arm of the porcelain doll that had been shot off earlier.
What can you tell us about this? The doll that this belonged to is being very tight-lipped.
Bring it near. Let's see, shall we?
They appeared to be in an attic. It must have been close to sunset, as the rays of sunlight peeked through the vaulted window. Boxes and sheets covered most of the room. A little girl sat on the floor, playing with a few dolls. A door slammed somewhere downstairs. The girl looked up from her dolls, a nervous expression on her face. From downstairs, the voices of a man and woman arguing drifted up to the attic. The voices quickly escalated to screaming and yelling. The attic door flew open as a man climbed into the room. Behind him quickly followed a woman. She tried to restrain him, and that's when the little girl saw it. The woman had a gun in her hand. The little girl got to her feet and ran towards them, all three now struggling with the gun. 2 gunshots rang out, then silence. A moment later, another gunshot. The 2 bodies laid silently on the floor. The little girl sat beside them, the gun in her hand. Part of her head missing, where the bullet had gone through.
That poor child. Witnessing her parents kill each other
Would be enough for anyone to pull the trigger on themselves.
It explains why she doesn't talk. Such trauma. Thank you, Pythia.
You're welcome. And Dr. Claus. Please take care of her. She's fragile. Like porcelain.
Let me take the lead on this one, Doc.
You want to talk to her? Why?
She's had a rough childhood, but more than that, it looks like she's been on the streets since the death of her parents. She's been living rough, doing anything to survive. I know what that's like.
I tend to forget that, Chen. You lead. I'll follow.
As Klaus came into the room, he saw Chen and the porcelain woman sitting together, talking.
What? Who authorized this? What's he doing inside her cell? Sir, Agent Chen insisted. She's really starting to open up to him. She doesn't appear dangerous.
Klaus looked back through the one-way glass. He nodded. Chen knew what he was doing. So you see, you and I aren't that different. My time on the streets helped make me to the man I am today. But if there wasn't anyone to help me, guide me, things could have turned out much worse.
I'm starting to understand now. You did what you had to survive.
Exactly. You don't have to be scared. She leaned towards Chen.
You and me were the same?
Yes, we are.
Yes. Yes, I see it now. You aren't one of them. You dress like them. The men with the guns. But you're not one of them.
Well, I mean...
You're like me. The same. The very same.
Right, but...
Tell me, James. How did you do it?
How did I do what?
Did you do it like me? Did you enjoy it like me?
Chen looked at her with a blank expression.
It was so easy. Mommy and Daddy, they never really loved me. They wanted a boy, but they got me instead. I wasn't pretty enough. I wasn't as pretty or precious like Mommy's dolls. I tried and tried. until I started to become one of Mommy's little dolls. And even then, it wasn't enough. Then, one night, Daddy came home drunk. Again. But Mommy was so scared. She had his gun, but Mommy was weak. So weak. I knew she wouldn't be able to do it. So I did it. And I got so mad, she couldn't even kill him to defend me. She was weak. Not like you and me, James. So I took care of her. 2 shots. Both of them gone. Then one final shot. So when they came for me, it'd look like an accident. Or suicide. I am porcelain after all. I might break easily, but I'm stronger than I look.
SCP-706 is an adolescent European-American female identified as 12 years of age according to local records at time of initial containment. Records also indicate that SCP-706 had been homeschooled throughout its life, and that neighbors rarely saw SCP-706 outdoors. SCP-706 is physiologically normal with the exception of an abnormally high resting body temperature of approximately 38.5 degrees Celsius, and that its entire epidermis is composed of porcelain with the exception of small areas around its joints. This layer is extremely fragile due to its thickness and can crack or break when subjected to impacts or even with excessive movement, a process that is reportedly extremely painful. SCP-706 is capable of regenerating this skin layer at a rate consistent with normal skin growth when provided with and allowed to consume appropriate raw materials. Unfinished materials such as porcelain are acceptable and preferred. SCP-706 has no particular resistance to tissue damage resulting from the ingestion of hardened porcelain. Unless otherwise directed, SCP-706 will compulsively maintain its appearance, typically involved in looking at itself in mirrors and using any available makeup or paint to apply, remove, or adjust its features. SCP-706 will become distressed and uncooperative if not provided appropriate materials with which to maintain its materials or if denied the ability to inspect its own appearance. SCP-706 was removed from Texas following a police report involving a violent domestic dispute at a suburban residence. SCP-706 was discovered in a back room of the residence, surrounded by a large pile of destroyed remains from several dozen porcelain dolls and multiple sets of fine china dinnerware, with most of the porcelain mass having been consumed. Class A amnestics were administered to responding law enforcement personnel, and a cover story given to local media. SCP-706 is to be housed in a humanoid containment cell at Humanoid Containment Site 06-3, which has been modified with padded walls and minimal sharp edges. SCP-706 is to be provided with 1.2 kilos of kaolin and ceramic glaze daily in addition to its regular diet. Handling personnel are allowed to provide SCP-706 with non-standard items such as vanity mirrors, extra clothing as outlined in Document 706-E, and a paintbrush set with ceramic enamel paint as an incentive or reward for good behavior. SCP-706 is currently contained under suicide watch procedures and is to be restrained at all times except when undergoing testing. SCP-706 is to be given daily therapy sessions until further notice.
A child's mental health is a vulnerable and gentle thing. Without the proper care and love, it can break, like a porcelain doll.
As always, have a care, and remember to subscribe, like, and share, if you would.
Suncorp Insurance is Queensland's largest CTP insurer, so you get more, like free driver protection cover for eligible drivers. Protecting what matters most. That's the Suncorp spirit.
Take him away. Keep searching. Take everything you find back to HQ. Damn it.
They had been moments too late. It wasn't the first time Klaus had missed him, but he was trying to make sure it would be the last. By now, they had quite the assortment of characters and objects, but not the man himself. Looks like we missed him again.
Yeah, he's always one step ahead of us. Dr. Klaus, we've got something you need to see. Just take it back to HQ. I'll look at it there. I think you might want to see this first. We're not quite sure what to do with them. All right, lead the way.
They entered a dark tent near the back of what was left behind from the circus. Near the end of the tent, they could make out 3 faint, glowing lights. As they got nearer, it became clear they were jars. 3 malformed fetuses floated within them.
Okay, there's some sort of creepy dead babies. Why couldn't you just have brought them back to HQ? That's just it, sir. I'm sure I heard them laughing.
Klaus bent down to have a closer look.
I'm not seeing anything. I know, but it's fine. Take them back and put them into containment. I'll have a closer look later.
Welcome back. Today I bring you SCP-3717, Pickled Punks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Come join my Discord, too.
Everything's been categorized, sorted, filed, and locked up. Except for your babies.
My babies?
Those 3 in the jar, remember?
Oh, right.
They seem safe. I mean, they're dead, right?
Let's go and have a look at them, shall we?
Those are nasty.
They are pretty nasty, eh?
They aren't pretty nasty. They aren't even just dead baby nasty. They're a whole new level of nasty.
I know, right? Like, what's going on with this one? It's got some sort of brain incision, and I'm not even gonna talk about what's going on down there.
That ain't even the half of it. This one's missing half his brain.
And this one, I mean...
Okay, that's just about enough out of you two.
Klaus and Chen took a step back. It was speaking.
So, you're alive after all?
Yeah, bud. We got feelings, you know. You ain't the most handsome fella either, you know. You ever heard of a suntan? You're paler than my sister's back there.
Chen giggled. He's got you on that one.
Oh, you think that's funny, do you? The guy who spends the income of a small country at the hairdresser each week.
Klaus let out a snicker.
Okay, maybe we got off on the wrong foot. I'm Klaus, and this is Agent Chen.
Yeah, we know about you SCP creeps. Go suck an egg.
Right. Perhaps we should all cool off a little and pick this up a bit later.
Klaus sat at his desk with Chen as they rolled in the fetuses.
Careful! Those jars are fragile. Set them over there.
You know, this place isn't even 2-star. The food is awful. The service is atrocious, and the scenery is bland at best.
Well, you know we can change all of that. We'd be happy to, in fact.
Oh, yeah? Well, now you're talking.
Just tell us about the Circus of Disquieting.
Come on, Doc. We told you before. There's nothing else to say.
What about Herman Fuller? I know you know more than you're telling me.
I told you before. We hardly saw the guy. We dealt with Manny most of the time.
Fine. Then tell me a little more about the circus and what you did there.
Not all that much to tell, but sure. Why not?
The 3 fetuses were exhibited inside the Den of Freaks. Unlike the other tents, which were red and gold, this one was purple and green. It had a sickening feel to it. The 3 of them sat upon a table in the middle of the tent. People walked by, ogling them and shrieking in disgust. It was the only life they had known. When they had first awoken to life, they had already been sealed inside these jars. The ringmaster himself, Herman Fuller, was an unkind man. They didn't see him often and spoke with him even less. It was likely better this way, for their own sake. Manny had always been a friend to them. After all, he was a freak like they were. This was their life, and it hadn't changed until the day they were left behind when the SCP Foundation had shown up. They had come before, but this time, something had gone wrong. They were unsure if it was intentional, or perhaps in the rush and the chaos, 3 little jars were simply overlooked.
And that's all we know.
Are you sure you can't tell me anything more about Herman Fuller? Your relationship with him?
I told you, Doc. We didn't have one.
All right. I'll see that you get a tour of the facility tomorrow, and someone will be in to have a chat with you tomorrow.
Nice, Doc. Thanks.
They took the 3 fetuses back to their containment cell. What do you make of them?
I don't think they're telling us everything.
We've got time. Work that trust in. Get nice and cozy, and they'll start to spill the beans.
My thoughts exactly.
Chen slept soundly in the barracks. It had been a long and eventful day. Sleep couldn't have come soon enough. The barracks lights lit up as the siren came to life.
Intruder, intruder, intruder.
Chen jumped out of bed, heading for his uniform. What's going on?
Seems there's been a break-in, sir.
Where are they?
All zones are showing clear. Seems like they're gone.
Any casualties? Missing anomalies?
No injuries, but they went into the fetus's cell.
Okay, let's get to the security cameras. As Chen sat down in front of the TVs, a tired-looking Klaus came into the room.
What is it? What happened?
Sit down, let's find out. On the TV screens, a large man came into focus, walking through the corridors, his head upside down. He came to a stop in front of the fetus's containment cell. He slowly dissolved into a mist and reappeared inside the room.
Finally, Manny, where you been?
It's not an easy place to get inside, you know?
Yeah, let's get out of here. Dad miss us?
Mr. Fuller eagerly awaits your return.
SCP-3717
There's no bond.
is a collective designation for 3 stillborn, malformed infants preserved in glass jars filled with an anomalous solution of formaldehyde and amniotic fluid. Although dead on a cellular level, each instance possesses adult-level human intelligence and sensory capabilities, which do not appear to be impeded by their fluid environment. SCP-3717 are capable of producing speech by inducing their jars to emit sonic vibrations by an unknown method. Instances are also capable of limited movement within their jars. Powdered food placed within their jars appears to be absorbed through the skin, though no waste products have been observed to be excreted.
Don't just make it matter. At Griffith University.
Everyone's a winner this end of financial year on eBay.
Instances claim that they will suffocate if removed from their solution. This has not been confirmed via testing.
SCP-3717-01 is a hermaphroditic infant that appears to possess craniotomy scars along the top of its head. Neuroimaging has revealed that SCP-3717-01's cranium is filled with several marbles. SCP-3717-02 is a male infant missing the left half of its cranium, with its brain having been replaced with a mass of dust, lint, dead skin cells, and spider webs. Notably, neither SCP-3717-01 or 02 seem to suffer any cognitive impairment because of their missing brain matter. SCP-3717-03 is a pair of female syncephalous conjoined twins. Skin pigmentation is entirely absent. It is unclear, possibly even to itself, whether SCP-3717-03 possesses a singular conscience or 2 distinct but similar minds.
DNA analysis of SCP-3717 has revealed that they are genetically human as well as half-siblings, all possessing the same father. Outside of testing, all instances of SCP-3717 are to be kept together in a small humanoid containment chamber within the low-security wing of Site-17. Media devices provided to SCP-3717 must be voice-controlled. 2 daily, 1 scoop, 28 grams of powdered baby formula is to be sprinkled into each instance's jar. Instances are permitted to select from available flavors. Personnel assigned to this task are encouraged to engage SCP-3717 in conversation and report any request or concern to Dr. Valdez. Psychiatric sessions are to be conducted on a bi-weekly basis. As an incentive for cooperation, SCP-3717 may be placed on a customized secured dolly and taken on excursions around their containment wing. Supervised interaction with other residents of Site-17 is permitted. SCP-3717 were discovered inside of a leather strongbox on the County Fairgrounds by Mobile Task Force Kappa-14, Sideshow Bob, who were investigating reports of recent GOI-233 activity. Adjacent promotional material referred to SCP-3717 as Papa's precociously provocative pickled punks.
Though parents might sometimes seem mean and unloving, be sure not to confuse concern for your well-being with bad intent.
As always, have a care and remember to subscribe, like, and share, if you would. Until next time, farewell.
The passageways and damp walls were enough to make even the most avid adventurer claustrophobic. The stories and history of the catacombs of Paris were not common knowledge. Nonetheless, Chen and Klaus did know they were hundreds of years old, and were initially built to bury the dead bodies, filling the streets of Paris above.
Are you sure about what you saw?
Oui, monsieur. It's just a little further.
I don't know about this. I'm getting an odd vibe, like he enjoys being down here.
We've gone this far. A little further won't kill you.
Famous last words. The passages and tunnel system grew narrower, their flashlights casting eerie shadows on the walls and ceiling. Up ahead, their guide Theo came to a halt.
I worked on here for years. This was a wall, but a few weeks ago the demolition above ground must have cracked it. That's when I found it.
Try Aveeno Skin Relief Wash and Lotion 1 litre from $11.99 exclusive to Chemist Warehouse.
I found it.
Klaus stepped forward to the gap in the wall, shining his flashlight inside.
Okay, let's go through. Chen?
Chen stepped forward.
You mean to go in?
Of course.
Are you sure? The gap is too small for you, I think.
Come on, Theo. I'm a small guy. With a wink, Chen raised his leg and leveled a firm kick at the wall. It came crumbling down, dust and debris scattering everywhere.
Welcome back. Today I bring you SCP-1702, the French Hive. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell.
James Subtle Chen. What would we do without you?
You wanted in? You're in. As the dust settled, Klaus crawled through the gap into a cavernously large room.
What in the...
Before him stood a giant beehive, close to 100 feet tall. Chen slowly stepped forward, Klaus reaching an arm out.
Be careful, Chen. We're not alone.
Coming from within the hive and around its sides, a few women appeared from the darkness. Bonjour, ¿cómo está?
Hold up, Chen. They aren't human.
As they slowly approached, they could make out what looked like antennae and a honeycomb-like pattern on parts of their body. From between the women at the front of the hive, a tall, elegant lady came forward towards them. She must have stood over 2 meters tall, and was dressed in what appeared to be some sort of honeycomb evening dress. Across her cheek, a small scar.
Who are you?
We aren't here to harm you. You can call me Klaus, and this is Chen. The guy back there, that's Theo.
You have the honor of addressing the queen of this hive.
As she spoke, she swooned and stood uneasy. Her maidens came forth to steady her. It was a colony of some sort of hybrid bee humans. Do you really think you can convince them to come back with us? I mean, they've probably been down there for ages, maybe even before the catacombs.
They've already agreed.
What? How?
The hive is right under the site of the demolitions. One way or another, that hive will be destroyed soon. Our protection is their best option. Thank you for coming with us. I know it can't be easy to leave your home.
Home? The colony can always build another. What's important is the progeny. You must stay strong.
She swooned again as her maidens helped her to a seat. Klaus walked back to his seat. Why did she always appear intoxicated? He had more questions than answers for the time being. The initial construction of the hive had started before they had arrived. Progress was fast. It would soon be able to house the colony. The remainder of the work would be conducted by the Queen's workers. They could produce a bone-like material used to build their hive. But they needed to consume human flesh in order to do so. The majority of the hive's inhabitants were traveling by plane. There were over 300 of them. The queen had come with only a handful of handmaidens to take care of her. Even as they traveled, she still had to meet her quota, 30 eggs per day.
Dr. Kloss?
Ah, Dr. Colette. Interested to meet our new client?
Very.
Well, let's get started then.
They walked to where the queen was standing, near the new hive.
Your Majesty, I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Colette. She'll be taking over soon and seeing to your needs.
Very nice to meet you.
The queen slurred her words.
Ah, yes, and you. What a lovely brooch that is.
Colette looked at Klaus. Was the queen always so drunk? Her eyes suddenly focused, a look of panic in them.
Help me! I need to get out! Help me, please!
Her handmaidens immediately swarmed around her, dragging her back to the hive as she screamed and called out. Klaus moved towards the queen, but was stopped by a maiden. The warning was clear. Stay back.
That was odd. What do you think it meant?
I don't know. It's really very perplexing. I'm hoping that Pythia can shed some light on the situation. Perhaps something in the past might help to explain the current situation.
It has no butt.
The catacombs of Paris. What a romantic place. One time, Lucius and I.
Lucius and you? Don't stop now. Keep going.
Perhaps that's a story for another day. Come, boys. Let's see what we can see, shall we?
They stepped forward, reaching towards the glass. They were in the catacombs once again. Above them, they could hear air sirens and bombs going off. The sounds of planes and people screaming. It must have been during the Second World War. They heard hushed voices in the distance. Sat at a small table was a young woman. Across from her, a tall shadow sat. Behind the tall figure, a few women stood, the antennae in their heads, almost disguised by their hoods. The young woman reached across the table and shook the tall figure's hand. The tall figure stood up. It was the queen. She looked identical. She was the same age now as 80 years ago. The only thing missing was her scar. How's that possible? She hasn't aged a day.
Yeah, doesn't seem right, does it? Get Colette. I want to speak to the queen again.
The handmaidens didn't seem pleased about the scientists seeing their queen a second time so soon. Or perhaps they were worried about what another outburst from their queen could mean.
You asked for me, Dr. Kloss?
Dr. Colette stood behind Klaus and Chen, an agent by her side.
Let's push her. I want to see if we can find out more about what happened earlier.
As they approached the queen, she stood to greet them, unbalanced and apparently intoxicated once again.
Your Majesty, you asked for our help earlier.
I did? I don't recall. Well...
Her eyes suddenly focused.
Yes, help me. I don't want to. Not anymore.
Her handmaidens pounced on her, dragging her back once again to the hive.
Stop, you're hurting her. Stop.
Colette ran after the queen, her escort in tow, but it was too late. They had all disappeared into the hive, and the remaining handmaidens barred their way.
New Centrum Rest and Renew, so you can sleep like, well, a baby.
All disappeared into the hive, and the remaining handmaidens barred their way. How long's it been?
Over a month.
Well, I guess we can assume Dr. Colette and Agent Franks have been recycled into the hive.
Unfortunately so. Nonetheless, I want a closer look inside the hive now that they're finally speaking to us again.
Two agents came into the room, one carrying a flash drive recovered from Agent Frank's body camera. Klaus played the short recording back. It was awful. The Queen's handmaidens had torn Agent Franks and the Queen to bits. There was hardly anything left of either of them, but no sign of Dr. Colette. Disgusting.
Let's go speak to the handmaidens.
As they approached the hive, they saw the handmaids on guard at the entrance. From within, a tall, shadowy figure stepped forth to greet them. It was the Queen. How was this possible? They had seen her die on the body cam footage. She smiled at them with her scarless face, fingers playing with a red brooch around her neck. SCP-1702 is a species of apian humanoids consisting of a hive with a single fertile queen and several hundred sterile workers. SCP-1702 specimens have an appearance analogous to normal humans, with the notable exception of several prominent apian structures, including antennae extending from their head and chitinous skin along their backs and limbs. SCP-1702 also have similar internal physiology, with a notable addition of a compound stomach with a chamber capable of processing organic material and raw minerals into a substance resembling human bone that can then be regurgitated and used in hive construction and repairs. SCP-1702-1 is the Queen, a large, fertile female approximately 2.1 meters in length, and the only member of SCP-1702 capable of reproduction, typically laying up to 30 eggs per day. Highly intelligent, SCP-1702-1 is capable of communicating with personnel in a previously unknown dialect of French, and has proven highly cooperative, as well as being the source of most of our knowledge regarding SCP-1702's behavior and hive mechanics. SCP-1702-2 are male specimens, which are only present during the beginning of a mating cycle, and have only been encountered once while in Foundation containment. SCP-1702-2 appear to be only minimally intelligent, and do not respond to attempts to communicate by Foundation personnel. At the end of the mating cycle, all SCP-1702-2 specimens were systematically driven away from the hive or killed. SCP-1702-3 are sterile female workers, currently approximately 340 in number, responsible for construction and cleaning of the hive's physical structure and nurturing young. SCP-1702-3 also tend to SCP-1702-1 and are responsible for feeding, cleaning, grooming, and inducing egg-laying in the queen. SCP-1702-3 appear to be highly intelligent and capable of complex problem solving and logistics, but appear to have vestigial vocal cords and have not responded to attempts to communicate. SCP-1702-3 only have a lifespan of approximately 5 years.
SCP-1702 is contained in a sealed, repurposed hangar at Humanoid Containment Site 06-3, which has been fitted with reinforced concrete honeycomb structures. SCP-1702 is to be provided 500 kilos of food and mineral supplements daily via automated delivery systems, consisting of material as outlined in Document 1702-06. Just because someone appears to be happy, successful, rich, don't assume their life is all it seems. As always, have a care, and remember to subscribe, like, and share, if you would. Until next time, farewell.
Whether you turn it, tune it, launch it, floor it, send it, catch it, beach it, moor it, you love it. So make sure you cover it with UE. You insured.
New Colgate Optic White Teeth Whitening Kit, powered by indigo lights and hydrogen peroxide, for professional level whitening in just 10 minutes a day. Come on, don't hold back, smile out loud.
The woman's body rested within the bathtub, her arms and legs hanging over the edges. The water had a pink tinge to it, the smell of strawberries wafting through the air. By her hand laid a damp book, and a purple rubber duck floated in the water. The body looked relatively normal. No blood, electric burns, or injuries synonymous with a struggle were apparent. Kloss bent down to have a closer inspection of the body. He could find no obvious signs of what had killed this lady. Aside from what appeared to be a fresh, small cut on her lower arm, she looked immaculate. In the corner, Chen restrained her husband, distraught and in tears. Something didn't feel right about this whole situation, but that was obviously why they were here.
Mr. Jones, walk me through this one more time. You say you filled the bath for your wife and left the bathroom. When you came back 5 minutes later, she was dead. Yes, why do I have to go through this again? She's dead. I don't know what happened. And why the surgical gloves? The what? These? I didn't want the soap and bubbles on my hands. It's pink and oily. My OCD.
Chen turned back to look at Klaus, shrugging his shoulders. Sounds a bit like you.
Alright, Mr. Jones, that's all for now. We'll need to take the evidence for a thorough investigation.
Chen called out to the agents. Bag and tag everything. Back to HQ.
Welcome back. Today I bring you SCP-6868, Bubbly Bobby the Rubber Ducky. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell.
Anything?
Not on the surface, no. Slight bruises to the left heel, very fresh, seems moments before death. Probably kicked the tub in her final moments. Same on her left wrist. Other than that, only this small incision on her lower arm.
Looks like a razor cut. Fresh?
Very.
Interesting. What else?
You'll like this. There's no blood in the body, or any other bodily fluids.
Exsanguinated?
Big word, Chen. Big
There's no bond.
word.
Shut it.
Not quite. She's full of liquid, just not bodily fluids. Everything's been turned into purified water.
Not a pleasant way to go.
No,
Melissa.
not at all. Did you
What's
find
up,
anything
baby?
else?
Just this note.
Can
Chen
I
passed
stay
the note to
here
Klaus.
until I get a house of my
I
own until
think
the
we should speak
Alpha
with
Council,
Lucius about this.
you know.
Hey, Professor. Need some input.
So,
Found
you
this
can
note
stay
of
in the
potential
spare room
crime
or
scene.
in
Mean
my
anything
room
to
with
you?
me.
Lucius looked over the note.
I would sleep
Got a
in
new
your room
prototype
for
from work
now.
for you. I'm
Okay.
sorry, I haven't been there that much. Hopefully Bobby will keep you company while I'm gone. Love, Dad. Well, that begs the question.
Who's Bobby?
It begs the question. What is the item this note is referring to?
Not quite sure. We took a fair bit of evidence, but nothing seemed particularly odd.
Fine, fine. Keep searching. But I will tell you one thing. This W, definitely Dr. Wondertainment.
They looked at the items from the bathroom, now spread out on the table. They had been going through them all night. Nothing had appeared anomalous, but Klaus was sure it was here. I'm telling you, Doc, it's not here.
It has to be.
Well, we've been at it all night and nothing's happening.
It's here.
Fine, but this isn't working. Let's try something else.
Such as?
Take it all back. Back to the apartment. Let's go through it again on site with fresh eyes.
That's not a bad idea.
I'm not just good looks, Doc. There's brains up here, too. The agents finished putting all the objects back in their original positions. The photographs all matched up, minus the body of the woman.
Why do I have to be here for this? I apologize. It'll only take a moment. Is this the...
Let's pause it. Let's go to somewhere else in your yard. Fair enough? Where can we? Let's go to here. To my chill end. Press play.
Yes, it's the very same.
No, it's not. Fill the tub up with water. The agents opened the taps as Chen looked around the room, a look of confusion on his face.
What is it?
Chen looked at the husband. You said you ran the water and put on gloves because you didn't like the pink oily bubbles.
Yes, what of it?
So where's the bubble bath?
What?
How'd you make bubbles without any bubble bath?
You must have taken it or forgot it when you came back.
Impossible. What aren't you telling us? The man's eyes momentarily glanced across the room, then back at the floor. Chen turned his head in the direction the man's gaze had been. The rubber duck. Chen walked across the room and picked up the rubber duck. He looked back at the man, now refusing to meet his gaze. Chen knelt down by the tub and looked up at Klaus. He nodded his head. He slowly lowered his hand to the water and dropped the duck into the tub. For a moment, it seemed like nothing was happening. Then suddenly, pink bubbles started to form around the duck. They slowly grew larger and changed shape. They were becoming small ships, submarines, and even airplanes. The air started to smell sweet, of strawberries once again. As the bubbles took shape, they started to float and fly in the way the objects they replicated would have. Chen turned back to Klaus. Found it.
It's just a kid's toy. It makes bubbles and stuff. I forgot about it. We just bought it recently.
Oh, did you? From Mr. Wondertainment?
How?
Klaus stepped forward to the bathtub with a vial in his hand. He bent down and took a sample of the water.
Chen, how much you want to bet this water's purified now?
He took a TDS meter from his pocket and dipped it into the sample. Chen stepped in the way as the man slashed at his face. He deflected the first slash and caught his hand when he tried a second time. He stared at Chen with a wild look on his face. His eyes moved towards Chen's arm, a trickle of blood flowing down where he had cut it. A crazy smile crossed his face as he pulled Chen towards the bathtub. As both men started to fall into the tub, Klaus leaped into both of them, sending all three sprawling to the floor. Chen pinned the man to the floor as the agents came to take him away.
Lock him up, Chen. He murdered his wife.
Thanks for, keeping me dry?
You don't get it, Chen. I just saved your life.
I mean, I appreciate you blocking the tub, but a bit of water would hardly kill me. Klaus lifted Chen's bleeding arm into the air.
What happens when that rubber duck touches liquid? It purifies it.
Get fast-acting relief from a blocked nose with Otrivin Adult Nasal Spray, just $10.99 at Chemist Warehouse.
That rubber duck touches liquid. It purifies it.
SCP-6868 is an animate and sentient rubber duck toy, which is 9 by 9.5 by 8 centimeters large. On its bottom, a stylized W has been printed in purple. SCP-6868 is able to maneuver itself slowly with small jumps. Since recovery, SCP-6868 has